Okay, that was a great M&A session. We're going to move straight on to our next one, discussing esports. Our next moderator is Eirik Kristiansen from Pixel.bet. So let's get going. Thank you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Welcome. I don't know how many of you have vast knowledge about esports in that space. Can I have a show of hands? Affiliates? All right. And operators? All right. So it's mainly affiliates and other interests. That's good. We're going to cover some topics specifically based for operators and affiliates. So we're going to go a little bit through acquisition, do's and don'ts, what the future holds for esports, some of the titles, etc., which is big today. We have an awesome panel with a good variety of different people with vast knowledge in the esports space. And firstly, I run an esports endemic sportsbook, and we focus mainly for the future of esports, meanwhile doing some acquisition within casino. The other guys are doing both affiliate and operator side of things, so I'll let them introduce themselves one by one.
Hi everyone, my name is Serge Vardanyan. I'm the founder and CEO of Win. We run a few properties. We have Winners League, which is a Counter-Strike league focusing on a Tier 2 competition. We also have Win.gg, which is an esports media outlet, esports affiliate, and we just got licensed in Malta for an esports betting operation with the Winners.bet brand, which is not live yet. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Boris Mihov. I'm a Chief Product Officer of Luckbox, which is an endemic esports operator. We have an 11-month license, we've been live for about a year, and we accept real money payments from around the world.
Cool. Hi, I'm Tom Wade. I'm the co-founder and lead developer at SickOdds.com. We're an esports betting affiliate and an odds comparison engine.
Awesome. All right, so we're just going to jump into it, and we're going to first try to cover the difference between an esports bettor and a traditional bettor. So are there any different characteristics between the two? Anyone want to start off there?
Well, one thing we have to take into consideration that most of the esports audiences, this is younger demographics who were not exposed to the betting a lot. So those are first-time punters, first-time bettors, and therefore affiliates had a lot of work to do, and the companies such as ours or Tom's or organization had a lot of work in terms of educating like the whole betting from A to Z, for how to bet, what are the odds types, and all this stuff. So this, I would say, this is the main difference.
Yeah, there is a great variety of reports out there that have been for years. Everybody who is in the industry is already following, like Newzoo and a bunch of other companies that are producing these. And we always see consistently that esport audience are in higher income bracket groups, higher education bracket groups. So there are like unique differences compared to any other media audience out there. But one thing to recognize is that esports is a very rapidly growing industry. And part of that growth is around reducing these boundaries of entry. So there is rise of mobile gaming as esports. There is just less friction for anybody to enter this entertainment, you know, as a fan or as a player. And with that growth, you're going to see that at the similar age brackets and similar age segments, these differences are going to come down. So in the future, we can expect that esports are going to be mainstream as a mainstream activity. You're going to see the same characteristics as larger part of the population of the same age group.
Yes, one of the gaming festivals in the UK, Insomnia, last summer we ran a bit of a survey to look at people's betting habits as well as contrasting that to playing and watching habits. One of the things that we found from that survey was that a lot of people who bet on something played it actively as well, which I suppose is quite similar in traditional. But one of the things we saw was the average age of a bettor was between 21 and 24, so the average age is going to be a lot lower than your traditional bettor. So when you're targeting people, it's really important to kind of focus on the channels that they'd want rather than just using the old mindset of the football fan, the cricket fan, and that kind of thing going from there.
All right. So since it's clearly then there is some differences between the traditional bettors and the esports segment. So is then the ultimate potential for an affiliate or an operator then to target the older segment that is known to be bettors, or is there another way to enter the esports space? Should you do a different strategy? Is there another way of sort of tapping into that with a different demographic?
Yes, I think that quite a lot of esports fans have existing accounts at Bet365. We've seen a lot of people who've started out betting on football, have accounts on your traditional sportbooks, Bet365, Betway, and then have realized that there's esports markets offered. I think one of the hardest jobs as an affiliate is trying to show that esports first and esports endemic sportbooks actually have these better odds. But one of the things I think is good about an esports fan is they are very savvy as to, they've got a pretty educated background in numbers and that kind of thing generally. So they realize that these traditional sport books who are just dipping their toes in esports waters and offering odds that they think are fine, they get by and they tick over. People will start migrating onto esports endemics where they're offering good odds and better markets especially, and covering more esports titles, which I think is one of the important things for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have to recognize the different stages that this industry is going to go through and where everybody in the industry is right now, right? So it's a growth industry. There's a lot of operators like Luckbox, like Pixel.bet. We're all fighting now for a market in which we have to attract investment, we have to prove traction, we have to prove that this industry is actually growing at the pace that everybody expects it to grow. So in the short term, undoubtedly tapping into this market and audience of people who already are exposed to betting and they also like esports is the way to go for the short term if this is what you're after. Now in the mid to long term, we're going to see with the change of generations, more and more people who are entering betting as esports as their first point of contact with anything betting related. So people who their first form of entertainment is not football, it's Counter-Strike or Fortnite or some other new emerging game. And this is going to bring a great change to all of our strategies and affiliates and operators alike.
Really good point.
Another great opportunity for the operators is we all know that most of the probably 80% for any operator of the betting will be in-game, will be live betting. So with the esports, you have the opportunity. There's almost every day, almost every hour, something is going on in esports. So there's a big opportunity for having all the time all the time something to trade on, which is a great opportunity for this vast in-game trading for any betting operator. And also if we look at the games, most of the traded game is the Counter-Strike. Why is that? Because it's the longest game, and we see the population of this the bettors. They were young people who were into game. Now they're old, they have families, they make money, but they also love their game and they also bet on this game. That's why it's so popular.
Yes, so I think it's a really good point to be touched upon as well. Counter-Strike is the #1 game that is being betted on at the moment, and one of the main reasons is, as mentioned, that it's an older demographic that knows the game. It's been around for over 20 years. The odds that is set there as well is more aligned because the game is simpler, basically. It's easy to understand. It's 5 people on each team. They have a formed set of weapons to use. It's easier, basically, to set odds. Now, with technology evolving, we're able to get to a point where other games like League of Legends or Dota with more complex setups will be able to tap into the live betting market as well. So I think we're going to see a change there into terms of titles, etc. When it comes to the different acquisition channels, basically, since you guys touched upon the differences between traditional bettors, the younger segment, also then for Counter-Strike, maybe a little bit of an older demographic, but still esports savvy. For an affiliate, can you do the same type of acquisition as you did before? What is the way to go going forward, basically?
Yes, I mean, I'm coming in from a non-traditional betting background, so I started up with SickOdds back in 2016, and we were just always esports. We haven't really touched on other bits, but In terms of the acquisition for us, it was very much focused on long-tail SEO terms and trying to just focus on individual events and finding areas that we could target there. So trying to just get in touch with the fans for what they were searching for. But on top of that, we've tried to branch out into different communities. So whereas a lot of traditional affiliates use Skype as a means of main communication, the esports world is Discord. So a lot of people have these communities and betting communities that are already there and existing. So it's just knowing really where to look for esports fans starting up. So we look for Twitter, Reddit, and Discord as opposed to more traditional affiliates of Telegram or those kind of things which just aren't heard of in esports. And also offering something back to the community. So not just being a site that lists a few different operators and bonuses. Like that's why we started developing the odds comparison engine, just to give it that extra kick for what people can use. I mean, one of the biggest affiliates in esports, I believe, is HLTV, which is a Counter-Strike website, provides a lot of news, but also provides very good visualizations for what's happening in matches, kills, and like live game information. And then benefits the bettor underneath by showing odds of different sites and has a very, very active community. But I think one of the best ways to approach it is to understand esports. They're very aware if you're just kind of blagging it and making it up along the way, and they will like revolt. They'll tell you off and they'll let you know about it.
I want to speak a little about the sponsorship opportunities geared towards more the operators. Here's the thing. Last year we had $500 million. We had $1 billion about in the economy, except the betting, and half of it, $500 million, about half of it, was into the sponsorships. And when we dive deep into the sponsorships, we see those seven-figure large numbers with the organizations such as Betway signing up with MIRB or Ninjas in Pajamas, or Unibet going with Astralis, or Pinnacle doing a Pinnacle Cup. So yes, every cent that most of it, well, I don't want to say any, most of the money is going towards these top-tier tournaments. Most of the money is going to these top-tier teams, leaving almost nothing to the secondary leagues, to the secondary divisions, teams. And we all coming from the traditional sport, we understand that in order to grow the industry, you have to have the collegiate level, you have to have second divisions, you have to have schools, so that this talent has the opportunity to rise, has the opportunity to show their skills and get somewhere. And that's what we at Winners League are really focusing. We're not really making money, we're losing money on this, but we strongly believe that by giving opportunity to the young talent, we will be able to create this infrastructure. And if you're a brand, it's very important to understand the perception. Like a couple of days ago, GGBet did the ice challenge, whatever. Mouse Esports got $125,000. So what? What's the perception of the community? But when the brands are investing into the less known teams also have 100,000, 200,000 followers. Then the community understands that, okay, these guys are not just throwing money into just big names and brand awareness, but also contributing to the community. Esports community is a beautiful place to be, and it's important to contribute and be genuine in that.
Yes, I think it's a really good point. Authenticity is the way to go when you want to enter the esports market. And I think that's one of the challenges for affiliates specifically, if you come from a more traditional betting background, that you sort of try to jump on the hype train of esports, you try to be something that you maybe aren't, you haven't partnered up with the right people that actually have lived and breathed esport for a while, and the community really sees through this. And I think that's one of the things that really needs to be tapped into, where people have to make a decision basically. Do I want to pretend, or do I want to be real into esports and headstrong going forward? And I think another thing that we can touch upon, because I completely agree, touching on to a bigger segment of people and not only the top-heavy top teams is the way to go, because most people are not professional football players either. Most people enjoy football, they enjoy watching it at a high level, but it's harder then for them to play it. In esports, most of anyone that can play any type of game, basically. So it doesn't really matter if you're a professional, you will always be matched up with people of equal skill. So people get a very tight sort of relationship with their game and their favorite game. So this also taps into the bigger interest for people on maybe betting on it. They get a better understanding of the game. So when you have acquired, for example, as an affiliate or an operator, you have acquired someone from the esports space, maybe not a professional segment, but a broader. Is it possible to cross-sell this over to casino, for example, or is that a very big challenge? Any opinions on that?
Well, it's definitely possible to cross-sell into casino because this is what we see from even endemic operators that have been longer in the game. Like if you want to learn from example, learn from data, we see endemic esports operators that have added sportsbook, added casino, and they added it by acquiring esport players with the goal to increase revenue, to cross-sell. So this works, and a lot of data, and a lot of insights, a lot of interviews from the industry is going to show you that yes, there is certainly a cross-sell opportunity there. And for anybody who spends time at ICE, you're going to see all these companies here that are trying to release casino titles that are focused towards esports betting and esports audience. And furthermore, esports always had games of chance actually present, just in a little bit different forms, because 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, it was a little bit of different space under the radar, and there was a lot of games of chance that are not that regulated, that are not around anymore. But it showed that, of course, there is an appetite for games of chance, for casino games, and people understand them. They definitely engage with them.
So just to do a bit of background to the games of chance that you were touching on there, a lot of the industry got a lot of negative stigma over probably about 4 or 5 years ago with what's called skin betting. And I do apologize if I'm going a bit too simple for the people here, but with skin betting it was you could earn in-game items on Counter-Strike, and each of these had a value that could be sold to other people. So certain knife skins would be worth a few $100s, or certain sniper rifle skins $1,500 I think it went to for some of the AWP skins. And then essentially there was no age restrictions or kind of anyone looking over this, and basically kids could earn these skins during the game and put them on websites and then play roulette with it, or play different games where essentially these 12-year-olds could be winning thousands of dollars on knives, or losing hundreds of dollars that they'd put into the game as well. So over the past couple of years that's been heavily regulated now and pretty much shut down on all fronts. But that's just touching back on the chance. I mean, esports bettors and esports players that have been growing up have been kind of tailor-made and groomed into the gambling industry. Not in a good way, really, but now that they're turning 18, it's fine. So with certain different games, like you've got loot crates and loot boxes and things like that, where everything's a game of chance, they understand that concept. So it's not something that we touch on in the casino side of things, but I don't see there being an issue. I think they've got an understanding of that there.
All right, because I think that's a very crucial point as well in terms of anyone that plays any kind of game basically now, they're exposed to some form of gambling. There's gambling elements in every single game basically now. You scratch a ticket, you open a box, you get a skin, and then or at least many of the game creators create their own marketplace. So they basically create new type of currencies. And I know that some of the endemic esport brands are opening up for these types of currencies. Also, cryptocurrency and other less regulated currencies are being used. Sort of going forward, do you think that the endemic esports books are going to prevail, or will it be more the traditional bigger sports book? You mentioned, for example, Bet365, who everyone knows who is. Will they stand like the best chance of being successful, or will the endemic esports books prevail, basically?
I think realistically, as it grows, you'll see a lot of these big sport books will have a lot of benefits now because they've got an existing user base. But I think they'll start dropping off over the next few years as kind of the data stabilizes, and esports endemics have more data to use, can offer better markets, better odds. And also, as we saw with GGBet sponsoring the massive event, they had 150, 200,000 viewers going live on the finals. So people will have been seeing the odds come up live. They'll register with GGBet. I mean, as affiliates, we generally actually see more people signing up to endemics than we do to traditional, whether this is because they've already got accounts at traditional we can't see. It's a bit of a black box after it leaves us. But we do see that endemics as well are much more willing to work on campaigns, and they're hungry for it, really. I think it's really going to show dividends over 3 to 5 years as the industry kind of grows up and matures, and we see more players that are playing now that are underage start to mature, get families, have jobs, earn money, and are ready to bet.
Well, as I agree with you, and one more thing is that as every business grows and every area grows, things are usually going in the direction of consolidation. So we are going to see a lot of the established gambling operators trying to consolidate more and more to that market, because the goal is, after all, to capture a new generation of people, to capture new audiences all the time. So we're going to see this consolidating, and there definitely is going to be some brands that are left as an endemic brands to just acquire our esports first, and then we're going to see the other brands that acquire our sportsbook first, probably. But I definitely see it going towards consolidation. And if some of the endemic esports brands that are now rising is going to be actually the one who managed to consolidate, I only hope so, of course, like for all of us. But yeah.
And also, if you're an esports fan, you would want to go to the endemic brand, because the look and feel, you feel like at home. You go to Bet65, you feel like a guest. You don't want to feel like a guest. You want to feel like home. You want to feel that where you're coming, people understand, people love the game. That's why we see brands like Luckbox, or the brands which are growing and in the endemic perceives. I think this is important for the audience. This is where the bookies should treat esports audience differently, and I think you guys are doing a great job there.
Well, thank you for that. I completely agree. I know that we're sort of running out of time. We have a lot of different other topics that we would like to discuss. So I think it's best that we just open for a Q&A. If anyone has any questions in relation to any of our panelists, anything you wonder in terms of affiliation, acquisition, anything we haven't covered? Anyone? All right. But that means that we have done a good job, I assume, to explain everything, if there's no questions left. All right. But then I think we can just round off. Thank you so much, guys. I think we have touched upon the most crucial points, at least. It is an exciting future for esports, that's for sure. The coming years, it's hard to predict what will actually happen. But I think all of us are doing a really good job. We are sort of a big part of the moving train, and I think alignment and cooperation is very important. Sharing the do's and don'ts. There have been challenges over the past years, but it really seems that esports is getting a foothold. The legitimacy, I think, in hand with sort of the regulatory aspects of things as well. We're entering a more safe and transparent future. This is very important for the next generation growing up, because the casino industry had a bad reputation, is now entering a space where it gets more legitimized. And for anyone to be able to tap into the next generation, you have to do it by the book and do it the right way. So let's hold the fingers crossed and push forward for a great evolution of esports. Thank you so much, guys, for showing up.
Thank you, everyone.